The Razorback was a way to create a completely different looking ship. All of the other ships in the Expanse have been clunky, blocky.
Space vessels should not be designed as if gravity matters or as if there's a horizon or as if they're going to be traveling in straight lines across the screen.
I like to hear how they envision it first. And then we start talking about it and we have a conversation with everybody on the phone. That's where it begins.
We brought in the designers in April and started working on it. It took about 4 months to design, develop, and construct.
It was involving special effects, it was involving construction, the set designers, the visual effects, and also the stunt coordination team.
The request was that they be able to remove almost everything except the chairs and shoot it from every possible angle. We had to organize with all the departments about how we're going to deconstruct the set on the fly while they're shooting in order to allow the camera to move anywhere it wants to.
It was on an 8-foot riser. It had all the gears and mechanisms underneath it.
There were about 40, 50 people building that one set.
It's only 20 feet by 14 feet.
Razorback with those unbelievable chairs.
The early concept was just to have a half ring, and the chairs would be able to move in a very limited fashion. Because I was concerned about how do I hide the rings? And Ty just said, well, why hide them? Why not make a meal of the rings?
So I sat down with Carl, spent a lot of time with him deciding how it would physically be produced, how the ring would be supported by all the rollers that were in the floor, how it's mounted underneath the floor, where stunts came in with their winches, and we helped them with routing of the cables to make the rings actually rotate. After a month of really kind of working it inside the computer, it seemed like it was going to work, and then we started sending it out to construction and start putting it all together.
They have a set of pulleys very similar to what Cirque du Soleil uses on deceleration and acceleration rigs. And with a computer program that was specifically designed to capture this sort of function, we then put together the Razorback.
The races, as we picture them in the book series, are not straight lines. They're more like air races, where the goal is to go around various things. And of course, in space, those things would be things like planets and moons and that sort of thing, which all have their own gravity wells.
The chairs have to move to compensate for those big swings in gravity, to always keep the gravity pushing on one direction on the body of the person.
If you're here and the thrust is there, then it's pulling you down. There's the floor. And if the thrust is that way, there's the floor, and you're standing on the floor.
For the most part, we were doing, high gravity on our chest, so we're kind of having to push back and imagine the idea of a lot of weight being on there and trying to speak through it. Shohreh and I had no eye contact that whole day, which was different for us because for the most part we look at each other when we speak.
Both of our seats are synchronized and controlled by motors. They'll go backwards when we're slowing down, speeding up, and it's all run by computer. The person running it will be just taking their direction off my little hand movements and stuff like that. So it actually feels like we're flying. It feels like a Disney ride.
Traditionally we would have lights up here, but then in a wide shot, if we had lights up here, it would say, well, that's up. And we didn't want to suggest that there was an up, that the ship could be any orientation because the chairs rotate to counter that. So we designed the lighting into the floor and ceiling so that it could be kind of symmetrical. So we had to figure out how to get our lighting into that ring and also feed all that through the cabling with the motor systems and all that. So the lighting changes in the ring would indicate different speed changes and modes of the ship.
Alex being an addict of all things mechanical, especially speed. It was unfortunate that his first access to the Razorback was under such duress. He wasn't able to appreciate the finer elements of the ship that basically is probably one of the fastest ships in the system.
The first time you see Bobby flying a ship is the Razorback because she's not a pilot, but she would have that sort of training to a certain extent, I believe.
You can't pilot, right?
Well enough.
Does that mean yes?
That means I'll handle it.
Almost 2.5 minutes screen time. We spent 2 days on those chairs, being strapped to those chairs. I could feel the straps for a couple of days after. I think I'm getting used to high G.
I dropped our burn to 1G when our escort showed up.
Shit.
It almost felt like a theatre, and I always felt a bit like, uncomfortable in it. I think it's because we were raised up as well in those seats, and it was just like everyone was like looking in.
A 30-second shot of the Razorback might entail, in terms of animation, probably
10 hours of time for one person. But the more difficult technical side of it is the rendering and the compositing, and you can easily add up another 20 to 30 hours in that.
So the Razorback is a real wink at Citizen Kane. The word itself becomes this mantra which echoes through Miller's head, and that word becomes his obsession, Razorback. If I can find out the secret of Razorback, I'll find out the secret of Julie.
Can't take the Razorback.
And then it ultimately ends up being the clue that makes him understand that she's part of the proto-molecule and part of Eros.
It is actually in a couple of shots in the first season. Her racing crew are dancing around and spraying champagne everywhere because they had just won a big race. We hadn't really fully designed it yet. I just actually took a silhouette that was very similar to the Arkansas Razorbacks football team mascot and just did a little Razorback kind of shape. And interestingly enough, that shape made its way into the silhouette of the Guan Xin, the ship that the Razorback is housed in.
That set shot for about 2 days, and then we struck the set and put it away within about a day.
It looks awesome. It looks fast, and it looks luxurious, and it looks slick, and it does a lot of the lifting for the story just by the way that it looks.